Okay, so we are making the Sirona bag by Sewngar Patterns, and we're actually having this workshop here at our sewing room, the sewing room of Garner. We're having this workshop this weekend. If you're watching this on a replay, we will be having this again, so look for that as learning how to sew with cork. We have lots of workshops coming up. Okay, so here's what we're gonna need hardware-wise. I'm using two triangular rings for my swivel hook attachments, and because I don't have 3/4 of an inch hardware, I'm using 1 inch. Even though I'm using this cork at 3/4 of an inch, I'm going to show you how I'm going to put that with some webbing so that it can be like almost like a two-toned, and you can still use it even if you have different size hardware because 1/2 inch is very hard to come by. And then I have my zipper end, two zipper pulls. I'm using a Sun's one that I think it matches with the sunflowers very well. And then just a basic one for my interior zipper. I'm going to show you the difference between a Chicago screw and a rivet today. And these are two little pieces that I'm going to show you how I do my edge coating. This just anchors on the straps to the bag. So that's what we need for hardware wise. For your pattern pieces, you're going to need two zipper pulls. So I'm sorry, two zippers. So this one is one zipper at a longer length. You have one at a shorter length. All the measurements are on the pattern. I'm going to use my name tag here. I'm going to put that with my hardware. You're going to need your straps. Okay, your two interior zipper pocket pieces. If you're doing the accent pieces, you're going to need 4 of those, two right side, two mirrored. You're also going to need your zipper overlay for your interior zipper pocket. You need 2 exterior pieces, and you need 2 lining pieces. Okay, I'm also going to be using the Ghirardelli edge paint today and my roller. If you have anything that screw on or anything like that, you're going to need a screwdriver. I have this really cool screwdriver here that is rechargeable. So it's not battery operated, it is a rechargeable with a DC outlet. And it comes with all these different bits. And I'm going to be looking at having this on my website very shortly. So look out for that. Okay, so here is our Ghirardelli. There's a basic edge coat and then there's an iridescent gloss that goes over. I'm going to start with my edge coat. So just open that up. It's very simple. You just dip this in. Try to zoom you guys in so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, and you have a little bit, it's almost like it's dripping off, and then you just roll it on. Now I did prep these pieces ahead of time. I just took a large piece of like a piece of cork that was about 2 by 4 inches, put 2 of them together and glued them together and let it set overnight. What I did is I put it on my heat press without heat and then just let them kind of like press together. Okay, and there's the edge coating. And then once you're done with that, you just grab yourself a clip, you put it down like that, and you set it to dry. See that? You just set it to dry right there, and then do the other one. So this piece here is starting to kind of come apart a little bit. I'm going to probably put some glue in there. That's after I cut it. That's when it happened. I like to get my pieces pressed together and then cut because then they're both uniform. Okay. And then we'll take these 2 pieces and set it aside. We'll need to do another base coat before we do the iridescent. Okay, so now we're going to be working with our interior zipper pockets. I'm going to show you how to put that together. And then we can I'll show you how to do that. So what you're going to need is your smaller zipper. It needs to be at least longer than your overlay, your zipper pull, your overlay, your two zipper pocket pieces, and only one of your inside pieces. You don't need both of them, but I decided I will show you what that looks like. Okay, so for what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to insert your zipper onto your zipper tapes. What you're going to do is you're going to seal off your edges. You're just going to burn off the edges of the tape. Okay, you're going to crack it open. Zoom in a little bit for you guys. There we go. So you're going to crack that open, and then you're going to take your zipper pull. Your zipper pull has what I call a nose. Like if it was a train, this is the tip of the nose of the train, and then the back of the train. You want your tracks on the zipper tape to go through each one of these longer, the wider pieces. See it in the back here? It's not as wide as it is in the front. So you're going to want to go ahead and put that down towards the zipper tape, and you're going to put them on kind of like a train on train tracks. You want to make sure it gets on the train tracks. If you look down that side, you can kind of see this side is a little bit bubbly compared to this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this side back just a notch, and then I'm going to push it both evenly. And then now my zipper is in. It's just like that. Okay, now we're going to set that aside, and we're going to seal the edges of our cork. So all you do is just run your lighter just around the edges of it, and it just helps seal the edges. It's not as fuzzy. Okay, so just like that. Okay, so I'm gonna grab one of our lining pieces, and I want to get my center mark. So I'm gonna fold it in half, get my center mark, like so, and then do that. Zoom you guys out just a tiny bit. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to do here is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold this in half and just slightly crease it so we can tell which is our centerpiece. Okay, just like that. So this is the wrong side of the cork. This is the right side of the cork. I'm just going to turn this over because I didn't put my double-sided tape onto my piece. This double-sided tape is from my website, garnersewingroom.com. Look up double-sided tape and you'll find it. This is a 1/4 inch. Okay, so now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and peel. It's not quite coming off. There we go. I got tiny little stubby nails because my nails are still healing. Okay, just like that, peel it off. So now I can see my center mark where I had creased it. Right, you're going to want to go from your center mark, you're wanting to come down by 1.5 inches. There you go. And I'm not sure if this part is on the pattern or not. I know that's just my preference. Well, let's do 1 inch because it's kind of low. There we go. Down. Let's just hold it down like that. This is just a small interior pocket. You could do it on the outside. I just didn't want to take away from my design. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to sew around the outside of our overlay. You're going to want to have a long stitch length. So for me, that's going to be a 5. It's like a top stitch. And sew all the way around the perimeter by a 1/8 of an inch. Okay. Burning off that edge there, and that's what it looks like. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut right inside here and remove the waterproof canvas that's in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blade and just score in there like this. Let's change the angle for you guys. Okay, so just take it like that and just cut right down the middle. Like so. Okay. Now that I've done that, I can go from the other side and I'm going to cut away. I'm going to go ahead and just cut away from So what I'm doing is I'm just making sure I'm not cutting my cork. I'm just cutting away the waterproof canvas just to make like an opening. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to look pretty. Just make sure that you're just not cutting your cork. You don't want to see your lining from the other side of this bag. There we go. So right there, I didn't quite get enough and it kind of peeked through a little bit, so I'm just going to cut back into that a little bit more. That's all it has to look like. So just like that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my zipper tape and we're going to put tape on our zipper tape. Tape on the zipper tape. So for my zipper tape, I like to use the 1/8 inch zipper, the 1/8 inch double-sided tape right along the top edge. Oh, wait a minute, not yet. Sorry. Take it back, take it back. Not yet. You have to do it on this side first. And you'll see why I say that here in a second. This is my favorite way to do a zipper with an overlay. And you could obviously put this double-sided tape on before you put on your zipper pull. Makes it a little easier just to kind of lay it down and keep everything straight. Okay, so now that you've done that, you're going to grab your two lining pieces. Okay, and then you're going to put pretty side face up against here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel that off. Okay, line up the top edge to it, just like so. I like to make sure my zipper is nice and straight against that edge. Okay, and then now we're going to stitch 1/8 of an inch down, and you're going to use a joining stitch length. So I switched that over to a 3.5. And cut off your threads, and that's what it looks like. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing with the other side. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this, push it down, just like that. Just finger press it right now, and repeat to the other side with the other piece of pocket piece. Right up against that top edge. Making sure my zipper pieces, my lining pieces kind of match up a little bit. Right there I have a little bit of a gap, so I'm going to readjust that. There we go. All right. Stitch that down just like we did before. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we take this to the iron and press this down so that it stays open, like so. So once I press that on the iron, you're going to see what I'm talking about. That we're going to make sure that it presses open and it stays open. Let me do that and come right back. Okay. So now it's pressed open. You can see how it's laying a lot flatter now. Okay. So now we're going to put our double-sided tape on the top. See why I didn't do it before? Because if I would have put the double-sided tape on there before, it would have been hard for me to stitch. It would have been hard for me to stitch through that with it being sticky. So I didn't want to do that. Okay, so I like to have my zipper pull closing to the left, so I'm going to make that orientation for myself. So this is my left, this is my right. So I'm going to go ahead and peel the top of this piece, just like so, and then I'm going to show you how I kind of like I stand up and then I put this on top. So I'm just going to center it as much as possible. No one's really going to see if it's centered or not because it's the inside of the bag and you don't see what's on this side. Just like so. Okay, just gonna bring this down just a tiny bit. There we go, that looks good. I'm gonna flip this up, take my double-sided tape off this side, and then push it down. Okay, that looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and stitch that down using a 5 stitch length because it's a top stitch. So what I like to do is start on the back side of my zipper and then start sewing because then I'm not having to move my zipper as much. You'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so here I put open. And it's closed over here so that it keeps it closed when I'm going back to it. Okay, come back to where I started stitching, go over it by 2 stitches, and then take it off. That way I don't have to pull it to the back. It makes a back stitch without having to pull it all the way off. Come on. There we go. Okay, and then you can burn your ends just to make them stay a little bit better. There we go. Now we have a functioning zipper. On the other side, I'm just going to trim this one little thread that is kind of getting into the zipper. I don't want to get it caught in the zipper. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put pretty sides touching. Okay, and we're going to stitch down each side. So the way the pattern is written is you're birthing this bag through this zipper, through this zipper panel, zipper piece. Okay, so if you want, you can take off the excess if you want to. I am going to kind of fold it up to where I know I want to have my little crease. Okay, and then trim off the excess because I made the zipper pockets just a little bit too big. Okay. All right, so this is a trick that I've learned. I'm going to fold it up, clip it. I'm just having my clips on my right-hand side. Clip it so that way when I go to turn it, it's easier to turn it inside out and it already has that crease. Should I put my clips right here so I remember where they are? All right, so now we're going to flip this over. Okay, and now we're going to stitch down the right side, and then we're going to stitch down the left side. So just pull your lining piece to the side, joining stitch length 3.5. And you're going to stitch at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Trim your threads. Go down the other side. I didn't want to do back over that zipper, so I just lifted my foot and stitched forward again. It's an easy way to do a it's an easy way for you to do a back stitch. Take that out. I like to trim off some of this right here on the side because it's kind of bulky. Okay, and then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to go like this. I'm going to pop it open. Pop it open. Okay, and you can take this to the iron and press it so that when you go to do your top stitch, everything is nice and pressed and flat. Okay, so this piece is done. Just press that little piece on either with a finger press or with an iron. Just be careful because this is the wrong side of waterproof canvas and it can melt, so just be careful with that. I'm just going to finger press it because it's just the inside of the pocket. So now we're going to take this piece and our other lining piece and we're going to mark out our centers. That's going to come in handy here in just a minute. Okay, so now that we've done that, now we're going to do our darts. So our darts are very easy. You just put pretty sides together. And if you want to clip it, you can. Just pretty sides together. Clip, clip. And you're using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so let's do that. All right. Joining stitch length. I still have it at a joining stitch length. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a 1/4 inch seam allowance. This is what I like to do. I just like to chain stitch this part. Saves a little bit on thread, not a whole lot. When you're doing a dart, you're wanting to start from the raw edge up. So you're wanting to go from the widest point of the triangle up to the tip of the triangle. And you're going to stay at that 1/4 inch seam allowance the entire way. So you're still sewing a straight line. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So see that? So it's the same consistent seam allowance all the way across. Last one. It's a little harder with the zipper pocket in the way. You could do this before you do your zipper pocket. Okay. Now that we've done that, you can pop those out and you can take this to the iron and press those nice. And I like to press them away from each other. Just like that, and press it nice away from each other, and it makes it like a little boat at the bottom. All right, take this, put it aside, and let's get our front pieces. Okay, so we've got our front pieces, we have our accent pieces, and then our two cork pieces. I'm using this one because I kind of messed up on that, and it's going to be in the seam allowance, but I didn't want anybody getting this as a kit, so I'm using it as my example today. So again, I'm going to burn my edges just to kind of seal them. These don't matter as much as this edge here, the edge that's away from the dart, because that edge is the one that's going to be up against the body of the bag. If you wanted to, you could edge coat. I'm not doing the edge coating right now because it's not really necessary, and because it's such a natural look, it's not going to take away from the bag at all. It's very natural with all the yellow and brown tones on here. Okay, so you're going to have one of each. So you're going to have a mirrored and a right side for each piece. I marked mine with an M and an R so I would know which one goes to which. Set those to aside, and I'm going to grab these two. So now we're going to put these down. So the shorter end comes to the top, the longer edge is at the bottom. So if you look at your piece, this is shorter and that's longer. So that's how you know that the longer edge is going up against the bottom of the bag. Peel your tape. Line up the bottom of the bag with the edge of the dart. The dart may not be absolutely perfect, but this is what we're looking for right here. Okay, because that dart we're going to be taking care of it here in just a second. So there we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch right along this long edge. So now I'm going to do the dart like I did before. So put my pretty sides together, hold it down, and do a 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so if you've seen, I've already done that to my other pieces. You can kind of push that out if you want to, just make sure it looks nice. Both of your pieces. Again, I'm pushing my dart excess pieces out to the side, to the sides of the bag. So just like that. Now, if you have any hardware that you want to add to this, as in a name tag, a nameplate, cork tag, anything like that, you're going to want to add that now. I'm going to go ahead and do mine off camera and then show you guys what to do next. Okay, so now we're going to be making our strap. Okay, so we're going to get all of our pieces together, then put it all together. So our strap, okay, we're wanting to connect it. So we're wanting to do a 45-degree angle here. So what I like to do is get these two pieces that have like the raw edges on it and line them up against each other like so and clip them. Now I have some people ask me, well, how do you know which direction to sew, right? So what I like to say is if you're driving in a car, right, and you were going straight and you needed to make a turn to go this direction, that's the direction you're going to want to sew your piece in. So I'm going to start from here and go to here. So say it's following the direction of the road. That's how I do it. So you can mark this out with a line if you need to. I'm not going to. I can pretty much keep it straight on where I need it to go, right off to the edge and cut off. Now, I'm human. I'm not perfect. So I like to make sure that it's actually going to work. And it is. Okay, so now I can cut off my excess. So before you cut off your excess, always make sure that it is working. And cut off your little dog ears. Okay, and you're going to want to press this down and open. You're going to want to have this open here. Okay, you can iron cork. Just letting you know, you can iron cork. Take this and just kind of roll it into there. Okay, so you're going to want to pretty much making this into thirds. Okay, so if you, because I am using this as a double-sided strap, I'm just going to meet mine towards the center instead of doing the trifold that she talks about in her pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark a line down the center of my piece here. Okay, so just peel off. I don't like to peel all of it off at once, just a good amount. Then you're going to take both ends and press them together towards the center. You don't need to leave a gap because this is a double-sided strap that we're going to work on. Just press it together. This tape does really good about sticking, especially when it's a fibrous backing. If it's something that's more plastic, it doesn't do as well for straps. You would need a little bit of a wider tape. So I'm working on getting 3/8 of an inch as well. I'm sorry, 3/4 of an inch. My son's in the other room. If you guys don't know, I homeschool my children, so they are actually with me all day. And so he's off school right now and he's playing. Just like that. So now we're going to grab our webbing and we're going to put double-sided tape on this and put it on our webbing. So I'm going to put double-sided tape on this side and then attach it to my webbing. That off just a little bit, not too much. Come down about 2 inches and try to put it on as straight as you can. You know, we're not looking for perfection here, but it doesn't hurt. But if you're new, don't be so hard on yourself. All right, let's continue. Okay, and see, I made it a lot longer than I needed to have it. Now I'm going to cut it at about 2 inches. And then melt those edges. Okay, so now we're going to start stitching this with a stitch length of 5. We're going to go ahead and stitch this down each of the long edges down the cork. Okay, I'll throw this over my shoulder and we're going to sew. Stop and check your back bobbin to make sure it looks good. I'm coming to the join right here. I can feel it. I'm going to go nice and slow to the join. All the way to the end, to that short end. Pivot, come across the other side, and then there we go. Coming up to that join again. Go nice and slow over the join. Come up to that short end. Pivot across again, back stitch. Let's take it off. lighter fell. And that's what it looks like. So it's a two-sided strap. We got webbing on one side and then our beautiful cork on one side. So that way, if you have hardware that's not quite matching, you can make it work. Okay, so now we're going to go start assembling all of our pieces together. So now you're going to need your two exterior pieces, your two lining pieces, and your zipper, your long zipper tape. Okay, so now we're going to grab our zipper and our other pieces. I'm going to set those aside here for just a second, but we need our zipper first. What I like to do, again, burn off the edges just to seal them. Okay, and then from one edge, I like to measure down 1 inch and make a marking. This is not in the pattern. This is just something that I like to do. Okay, 1 inch from one of the short ends, so one of the open ends. You're going to grab your, we don't need this part yet, but that's what we're going to do now. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to mark the other edge also at 1 inch. I keep grabbing the one that doesn't have a pen in it. That's hilarious. No one's going to see that, I promise. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to crack it open and pull it apart. Yes. You're going to take it and you're going to pinch at that mark. Make sure it's just the same one so that you know what you're working with. So these are the parts that I'm going to clip these so that you know we don't lose track of which ones we're doing. But take this, pinch it together, and then pull it up like so that this creates an angle right there, and then you can clip that. Hold that one there for just a second, and we're going to repeat the same process with this one. So we're going to pinch it down, wrong sides together, and then bring it up and over just like that. We're creating like an L shape with our zippers. Okay, now we're going to stitch that down. Doesn't really matter if it's a 5 or anything like that. It's just a basting stitch. So what I like to do is get my little clips and hold the zipper tape in place while I sew, because I don't want it moving on me like it's trying to right now. And I really like to make sure that this is staying where I need it to stay. So if that means 2 lines of stitching, 2 lines of stitching. You can also hand stitch it if you want to, just take a couple little swoops in there. And that's what we're looking for. It's not pretty, but it's okay. This side's a little easier because I can kind of put my foot down and then take the clip out, and it keeps everything in place. Like that. So now we have both of our pieces just like that. So now we're going to grab our main piece, okay? And I want to grab, I've already made my marking according to the pattern. I'm going to grab my zipper tape, and I'm going to actually put tape on it. I'm going to put in 1/4 inch because I just want to make sure that nothing moves. Right up against the edge of my tape. Just want to make sure nothing moves. I'm trying to kind of guesstimate as to how far I need the tape to go. It doesn't need to go down the whole length. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start that curvy piece at that marking that I have. So the teeth are lining up right there. Been easier if I would have put this on the right side of the fabric, but it's okay. Just like that. And now you're going to take you're going to slowly ease the zipper up against that line. And then once you get to this straight bit, you're going to want to trail it off. So like that. So then that way it's not in this seam. Okay. Once it starts getting to this part here, just trail it off. And I also did a mark on the other side just so that I would be consistent on both sides. Okay, so that's there. All right, so that we've got that. Well, let's sew it down. 3.5 stitch lengths. And this is a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. That's what it looks like. Now we're going to repeat the same process with the other piece. Okay, so when you're marking out your pieces, right, I like to make sure that I know if it's pretty sides touching, which side's going to also have the same L shape to it. Okay, so just so that you, I dropped it. Just so that you know, I'm going to start my L shape over here. Okay, at the same spot where this starts. So then that way my zipper ends up matching. Does that make sense? You guys can't see what I'm doing. Hold on. Put it on the right side of the zipper. It likes to curl up a little bit, but it's okay. Just on the edge, like so. Okay. All right, so grab your other piece, put pretty sides together, lift it and put it on top of the tape. So then that way it matches up perfectly. No, that doesn't. Bring it down right there. Okay. Making sure the edge of the zipper tape is on the edge of the cork. Just gonna lift now that it's in place and just make sure that my zipper tape is on my cork. And again, I'm gonna start trailing it off when it gets to that straight bit right there. Okay, and stitch that down using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. On the back table, sweetheart. All right, so we got those two pieces together. All right, and now let's grab our lining pieces. Okay, so now we're going to create a zipper sandwich. Okay, you could do this in 2 pieces, or you could do it all at once, but I like to do it this way just to make sure that I have my zipper properly in place before anything else. So I like to go ahead and line up my centers and then just a couple clips because my zipper is already attached. And flip it over. I'm going to top stitch I'm going to stitch again, but what I'm doing is I'm going to stitch just on the other side of that stitch. So there's just a little bit of a seam allowance difference, just a tiny, tiny bit. So I'm going to stitch right along that side. Okay, so we're going to repeat the same process with the other piece. So I like to have my zipper panel, right? So my little zipper pocket on the opposite side of my front of my bag, so it's against my body. So it's just a preference, but you can do it either way. So I'm putting it on the other piece that doesn't have my name tag, name badge, tag, I don't know. Okay, so now we're going to sew that down. Okay, so now you've done that. Now you can finger press this open if you want to. We are going to be top stitching later, so do not top stitch now. We're doing that later. Okay, just like so, and we're going to put pretty sides together. So we're going to match up our darts, and you want to make sure you're nesting your darts, so making sure that they're just laying right on top of each other. Okay, and just make sure they're both going the opposite directions, just like that. Nesting them. Starting to get ready for karate here, so might get a little bit noisy for you guys. Okay, do the same thing here. We're gonna nest. Grab our clips. And we're gonna do our nesting. Sides together, just like that. I have my accent pieces match up, so just kind of make sure that that matches together, and just keep clipping all the way around. Make sure those pieces line up. Right, so for our zipper piece here, you're going to want to stick that in so that we don't catch our zipper in our lining. The lining's going to be a little snug. It's actually made to be a little bit smaller than the exterior. All right, so now we're going to sew all the way around. I like to start with my lining. So remember, we have the birthing hole out of our pocket, so I don't have to leave a birthing hole at the bottom of my bag. Okay, and I'm going to use a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So right here, where all this kind of gets together, I like to kind of like fold in and pull this away from each other. So just pull the lining away from the exterior and stitch all the way up as far as I can. It's almost like it's going to leave a little hole, but you're not going to see the hole, if that makes sense. when you get to your darts, just make sure they stay flat. Same thing with your exterior pieces. You don't want to lift things up, so just push it down. Really make sure you're pulling that zipper tape out of the way. This is the hardest part of this, is joining those two pieces. But other than that, it's really easy. And we are almost done, guys. So that your corners and everything lay a little bit better, I suggest using your pinking shears to go around your curves and trim off any excess. Try to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. Change the angle. There we go. You could have done this with this seam here, but the only problem with that is you have your zipper tape, so you're going to cut into your zipper tape, and it's going to help it lay better. But if you're not seasoned, if you don't, I wouldn't say seasoned, but if you don't know if your zipper tape is going to handle being cut into without it fraying and ruining it, I would rather just not do it and have a little bit of a wavy zipper rather than have a zipper that's gonna just mess up on you later. Okay. We get new pinking shears. I don't know if there's a way to sharpen them. Okay, so right in here, it's gonna remove some of that bulk. There we go. Okay, so now we're gonna turn it right side out with our hole. Okay, so I'm going to take it and I'm going to pull my lining out, my exterior, excuse me, through that hole in the pocket. This is nice and soft. Cork is not hard to work with at all. And just push out your sides. Look at that, matches up really pretty. You guys can see that? My darts are nice and nested. My side seams are nice. Everything is amazing. Okay. And when you're pushing out these corners, just be aware that it's not completely sealed. So you just have to kind of push it in a little bit and make almost like a little bit of a lip. Like that. And then just clip it. We're going to get that in the top stitching, so it's not a big deal. I'm just letting you know so that way you don't like put your finger and like, oh, that's a mess. No, that's okay. Just pop it in on both sides. Just pop it in and roll it out. Okay? It's not a big deal. Hold that there. All right, I'm going to close my hole before I forget because you don't know how many times I've done this. I've had people return bags. I have to send them a return label for them to return the bag so I can close up this hole. So I just do it right away. Makes it easier just to do it right away. And I'm sewing really close to the edge, less than 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, just to make sure everything's nice and sealed and the pocket is closed. Take the pocket piece and push it on the inside. And this is where you're just going to need to just kind of just finesse everything. Push everything in. So when I make funny faces, you guys can't see my funny faces. Everything fits up closed. I pushed everything out. It's looking amazing. Okay, so now this is where we're going to do our top stitching. So this is where you really want to make sure everything just kind of folds down. You want to really pull on that zipper. This piece here, I can kind of pop it out just a little bit more. There we go. Okay, and since my threads are matching, I'm going to go ahead and top stitch. Grab that. And just roll everything and then clip. Roll and clip. Roll and clip. So I could do my top stitching and it looks beautiful. And then we'll add our zipper pull. You're probably wondering, what happened to the zipper pull? Don't worry, I didn't forget it. I have done it, but not this time. This time's on purpose. Okay. Let's clip. Awesome. All right, now we're going to top stitch all the way around. So I'm going to change my stitch length to a 5. I like to start right here because it's less noticeable than the front and the back. I like to start at the side. Okay, and then pivot. And you can do 1/8 of an inch or less. I like to kind of do close to 1/8 of an inch. If you wanted to, you could turn this bag inside out, and then that way you can actually do your do it from the pretty side up instead of lining side up. If you wanted to, you don't have to. Kind of bulky on that side, things just take your time. It's a lot of layers there. That's about the only place where I feel like if you had a domestic sewing machine that you would need to use a hump jumper. Where did I put it? Oh, that looks so pretty. Good. All right, so now before we put our zipper on, we need to do our anchors, our strap anchors. So, strap anchor pieces. Okay, let me change the angle. Strap anchor pieces. We have, so one thing that I forgot to tell you that you're going to need is a punch. I'm looking for mine because it's right. I'll just use my hole punch. I have a rivet hole punch. So the pattern gives you instructions and or pattern piece for you to do this. Okay. I like to just kind of lay them together and measure it out. Use the pattern piece if you have it. It does make it a little bit more accurate. Okay, so I've marked out Marked it out. I'm going to make a hole. It is easier when I have the hand punch. The hand punch to me seems to be a little bit more accurate, but it's okay. Not too bad. It's just like that. That one didn't quite go all the way through. There we go. All right, now we've got that. Now we're going to need to do the same thing on our piece here. So this is where I'm going to put in my connector, like so. Okay, so that it hangs off of there. So all I'm going to do is just kind of like center it up, so fold it in half, right? And center it on to here. And then you're going to be riveting through all of the layers. You can come up as high or as low as you want to. Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is going to take this piece, put it through there, and we're going to put our rivets. So I'm going to show you how to do it with rivets, and then I'll show you the other side of how to do it with the Chicago screws, in case you do not have a rivet press. Because I have yet to find a handheld press to put press rivets on. Which to me is just like mind-boggling. But hey, just set that in place. Put this back on. Grab your other rivet. I like to put the post end through the front and the cap through the back. It's just a personal preference. Like so. Now we're going to grab our rivet press and press it into place. Just like that. My swivel hook's going to land right on that. Okay, so now we're doing the other side. I'm going to mark it out, and I don't need my press anymore. So that's what I thought. Measure down however far you want to go. Yep, that's where I want it. Make your little lines, just like so. Make your little dots. If you can't quite see the dot, re-mark your dots so you can see them when you go to do the hole punch. So now with your Chicago screw, right, you're going to grab your electric screwdriver and you're going to get a bit that matches the size of your Chicago screw. So it just depends on which one you get. This one fits in very well with this one for me. So that's what I'm going to use. So this one you have to kind of do in reverse. You're going to do the post side in, pop it out, okay? Then you're going to get the cap. You're going to get the cap, and you're going to screw on the cap. Like so. You're going to hold it in place, and then just screw it, hold the cap, and then just screw it in place. Just like that. So if you have a handheld punch and you have a screwdriver, you can put in Chicago screws instead of rivets. Are Chicago screws a little bit more expensive than rivets? Yes. But if you're new to bag making, I always say go with something that is minimal hardware and or minimal amount of cost out of pocket with tools and things like that. So okay, there we go. So just like that, and we've got our two parts down now. So now we're going to put in our zipper. So what we're going to do is I like to line up those lines. You see now that's why I had those two lines there. I'm going to zoom you guys in so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, remember those two lines that I had? Yeah, see how they're matching up right now? I like to hold and pinch those two lines lining up this way. Like, wait a minute. Putting our zipper with those two lines lining up as best as possible. Okay, like that. And so it looks like this is the top, the edge that's a little bit longer than this one. So the right hand side is a little bit longer. So I'm gonna put that one in first, then put in the other one. And just try to make sure that everything's nice and matching and push it through. And then now everything matches up. See that? Beautiful. Now we're gonna put our strap end. Okay, so if you don't want it to be too long, like that's kind of long for me, I'm gonna cut it down a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm gonna cut it down to just about where that mark is actually. Just like so. You can burn the edges if you want to. Grab your, and the good thing about this one, you don't have to change the direction here. You just go reverse. It's magnetic, it holds it. You're gonna pinch this closed. You're gonna pinch it towards each other like so, and then insert and push in as far as it'll go, and then turn it over and screw it in. It's so magnetic it doesn't want to let go. There we go. And so that's our crossbody strap. There's a not crossbody strap. This is our crossbody Sirona with our side pieces here, so it's easier to wear. With our strap, let's make our strap really fast. So what I like to do is put this piece in first. The side that's the pretty side you want up and down. Okay, just like that. Let me see. Hold on. Like this. I have to like measure this out real fast. This is why I do this like this, so that way it's not so thick right there. I like to audition it. So what I do is I do that. Okay, and then I'll go like so. Yeah. This goes up. This goes down. So then that's straight up, and then this would be straight up. Just like that. So with this one here, I like to kind of like double it over and stitch it down. Right there. Almost like where the cork meets this. Like that. And that's pretty thick, so if you want to use a rivet there, you can. Okay? So if you have a rivet and you want to use a rivet, you can. I'm just going to stitch it down. I'll clean up as I go because when I'm done with this, I've got to take my kids to karate. Okay. Okay, so that's what it looks like there. All right, and one last seam, we're going to stitch it right here together. Pull that out of the way a little bit and stitch it down. If you can't quite do an X, it's okay, as long as everything's staying where it needs to stay. Let that a little hairy. Okay, guys, we have a crossbody. All right, guys, let's go ahead and put this together, and then you guys can see the final product. There we go.